Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Vinayak here and I welcome you all for this webinar. Today, our team is going to take you through the best practices for installation and configuration of HCL Domino Vault, followed by a live demo of a sample application. This webinar is hosted by HCL Software Digital Solutions Organization. Next slide, please. Let me introduce the team. I am the facilitator today. And with me, I have Hemant Naik and Abhay Singh Shirke, members from our support team as our speakers. We also have today on our panel senior technical members Raj, Ranjit, Rajiv, and Shrikant. We also have Martin Leckleider from our offering management team. Be informed this session is being recorded and all our participants would be on mute throughout the session. For any questions, clarifications, please feel free to post them on the chat section and our panelists would be more than happy to respond to them. Today's presentation has been uploaded for everyone's reference in the handout section. Once again, I welcome you all, and now I would be handing it over to Hemant. Over to you, Hemant.
Thank you, Vinayak. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, and thanks for joining today's session. Today we will be presenting the session on HCL Domino Vault, installation configuration, and a Vault application demo. Here is the agenda for today's session. First, we will discuss a quick overview of Domino Vault, where we will understand what is Domino Vault. We will see how the high-level Domino Vault architecture looks and what are the components involved. We quickly go through the system requirement for Domino Vault. We will discuss about the pre-configuration from the Domino server side before you install Domino Vault. Also, the steps involved in installation and configuration of Domino Vault. We will see the key features of Domino Vault 1.0.1 and 1.0.2. We will share some more information, some upcoming features. Later, we will discuss and demo how to build app using Domino Vault. At the end, we will have some commonly faced issue and how to troubleshoot them. We have given some references to gain more information about Domino Vault. Lastly, the session will be open for questions and answers and your valuable feedback. Moving to the next slide. First, we will understand what is Domino Vault. Domino Vault is a web-based application builder running on the Domino server. Please note, this is not to compete with Domino Designer. It meant for the different market for our Domino customers. Domino Vault comes from the HCL Leap. HCL Leap is used to build dynamic forms and application web-based interface. It also a low-code application builder. So we have taken that code from Leap and made it run on the Domino server. It combines the best of HCL Leap with the best of HCL Domino to provide with everything. You can build web applications with simple data collection form to resource request and approval system. In short, this is low-code app building capabilities for business users. The other capabilities which Domino Vault provide is to build your simple workflow application like expense submission. Suppose I have an expense that needs to be submitted for my manager approval. You can achieve this kind of application using Domino Vault. Open Services Gateway Initiative OSGI is bundled inside Web Engine, which similar to what we already have for Xpages on the Domino server. The most important part is we do not have to have IBM component like WebSphere DB2 in the Vault like HCL Leap. HCL Vault is pure Domino-based application builder where all the data stored in the database as a document on the server. The file which you upload in the Domino Vault application will reside temporarily in the default temp directory on the server file system. Here we do not need anything other than the Domino server to run Domino Vault application. Moving to the next slide. This is an architecture diagram for Domino Vault. At number 1, Web Builder UI is an application editor used for building apps from the browser. At number 4, Web Runtime UI is end product after building app and is accessed by end user on the browsers. Domino Vault is built upon OSGI bundles. At number 1.5, the developer can preview the app on the browser, and NSF is created with some random UID as DB name. This is just a preview app and not the real app. The form cannot be submitted from the preview app. VaultBuilder.nsf holds XML definition and metadata for Vault app. Once app is designed, it's deployed at number 2. Now at number 2, when app is deployed, a temporary NTF is created and design is not yet pushed in NSF until it passes all the validations. So if any error occurs, design is not pushed to NSF as shown, but it is limited to NTF only. At number 3, if there is no error, then design is pushed from NTF to NSF. This ensures working production app is not hampered due to some error while deploying. My NTF inherits the template from the vaultapp.ntf. All the product settings are set in vaultconfig.nsf. My app.nsf is Domino database and can be accessed from the Notes client or browser. One can integrate other Domino channel like Dash or AppDevPack with Domino Vault app. Moving to the next slide. Here we will see the system requirement. The system requirement for Domino Vault required Domino Server v11 minimum. It supports 11.0 64-bit or higher version of Domino Server. For the best result, we recommend our customer to install Domino 11.0.1 FP2. The good part is we have Docker-based container image for Domino Vault starting with Domino version 11.0.1. So if you are interested in running the Domino Vault as a Docker-based container, you can always go to HCL support FlexNet site and download Domino Vault Docker image to run Domino as a container. Moving to the next slide. Before we install Domino Vault, there are some pre-configuration required from Domino server side. We use only Domino server as a platform to support Domino Vault. Domino must be upgraded to v11 and above before installing Domino Vault. We need to have session-based authentication enabled like SAML, SSO or single server because Domino Vault needs form-based authentication for its operations. Next, we need to enable HTTP methods get, delete, head, post and put. We need to have Domino SMTP routing to be enabled and properly configured. This is required to make sure your Domino Vault workflow application sends the email to respective owners. The server ID file must not be password protected. We will see these details in the configuration part in the upcoming slides. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we will continue with the pre-configuration for Domino Vault. The first one is Domino Vault requires session-based authentication. How this can be done using server document and internet site documents. If you are not using internet site document, then option load internet configuration from server or internet site documents in the server document should be disabled. To enable session authentication in the server document, edit server document and go to Internet Protocol, Domino Web Engine tab and enable session authentication to either SAML, multiple server SSO or single server as shown on this slide. The session authentication can be set to whatever you are using for your environment. If your environment does not have SAML or SSO in place, then you can set to single server to have form-based authentication. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we will understand how we can enable session authentication using internet site document. The option Load Internet Configuration from Server or Internet Site document in the Domino Server document is set to be enabled. Create Internet Site document in the Domino directory under Web, add Internet Site. Fill out the descriptive name, organization and other fields on the Basic tab and enable Session Authentication on the Configuration tab as shown on this slide. Moving to the next slide. The second requirement is to enable HTTP options on the Domino web server. The required options to be enabled are get, post, put, delete, head. If you are not using Internet Site document for your web server, then enable HTTP options using server nodes.ini HTTP enabled methods as shown in this slide. If you are using Internet Site documents, then enable HTTP option in the Internet Site document. To do this, from the administrator client, click Configuration, Web, Internet Sites. Double-click to edit Internet Site document and on the Configuration tab, enable HTTP methods as shown on this slide. Moving to the next slide. The final Domino server pre-configuration required to create group with group type as access control list only. You can include the users in members field who can create Domino Vault app on the server. Here, created server group name as Vault author with the group type access control list only. Moving to the next slide. Now we will cover the installation of Domino Vault on Windows, Linux, and Docker container. We assume that Domino Vault installer already downloaded and extracted on the Domino server machine. For Windows installation of Domino Vault, just open a command prompt using administrator account on the Windows server. Navigate the Domino Vault installer extracted folder and run install.bat. You will be prompted to accept license agreement. Accept it by entering Y. Once you accept license terms, it will display nodes program directory and data directory information by reading the nodes.ini file of the Domino server. Enter Y to continue. It will process the installation and display the information about installation complete. It will also display the log file name. Once the installation is complete, please restart Domino server. Moving to the next slide. Now in this slide, we will understand the process of installing Domino Vault on Linux Domino server. We can say it is almost like Windows. However, the only difference is you need to change permission on the install.sh file to root. For this, use chmod command with 755 option. Then run install.sh with the root user. As shown in the screenshot, we changed the permission and ran install.sh to start Domino Vault installation. We need to follow on-screen display to choose the program and data directory. Also provide appropriate account name used for Domino application. By default, it will be Nodes user for Domino application on Linux. Moving to the next slide. Here we need to answer yes to proceed and complete the installation of Domino Vault. Finally, a successful installation completion message will be shown. Take a restart of Domino server to proceed with the Domino Vault configuration. With this, we completed Domino Vault installation on Linux Domino server. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we will understand the installation procedure of Domino Vault on the Docker container. Basically, this is a bundled Docker image we have on FlexNet for our customers. This includes Base Domino and HCL Domino Vault. This will help our customer to run Domino Docker container with Domino Vault on it. Before we begin, there are a few prerequisites to run as a container. The first one is you need to have Linux machine with Docker installed and running. The second one is you need to have the Docker Vault image downloaded. This image must be loaded on the Docker machine using docker load command as shown in the slide. If you are adding new server in your domain, the server should be registered and server.id file should be moved to Docker machine where Docker image is loaded. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we will cover how to create Docker volume to save persistent Domino server data directory. The purpose, if we don't want to lose any data in case the container shut down or crash. Once the volume is created, we will run a temporary Docker Domino container to set up Domino server. To save the Domino data on the host, we need to create Docker volume. To create Docker volume, we use command docker volume create and the volume name. To verify created volume, we use command docker volume ls. Once the volume is created, we can use the below docker run command to create temporary container from the Domino Docker Vault image to configure the Domino server. The output is as shown. It will create container and start Domino server in listen mode to configure it using remote server setup. Moving to the next slide. We started temporary Domino container in listen mode. Now we can use remote server setup, which come with the Domino administrator client to set up, configure the Domino server. This is same method that we use configure Domino server on Linux or AX operating system. Give the Docker hostname or IP address of the Domino server and click OK. It will ask you to choose server.id file. For this, you need to open another SSH terminal to know the temporary container ID and to copy server.id file from Docker host to the container data directory. To do this, we issue docker cp command as shown below. You can see here the container ID. Also, docker cp command to copy server.id file to Docker volume. Moving to the next slide. Follow the next on-screen display to configure the Domino server and complete it. Now it have configured the Domino server. It's time to run Domino container using docker run command as shown below. We are starting the Domino server in interactive mode using docker run command. So this complete how we can install Domino Vault on Windows, Linux and run as a Docker container. In the coming slide, we will connect to Domino server to make the Domino Vault specific configuration. Moving to the next slide. We completed the installation and restarted the Domino server. Now when you connect to Domino server using administrator client, we can see Vault folder within data directory. Under this directory, we can see a few Vault template and databases, that is Vault config and Vault builder. We will discuss on this database in the coming slides. Please note the databases for Domino Vault will be created. However, in some cases, if these databases are not created, then we can use Domino console command to create the database from the Vault template. We will see how this can be done in the next slide. Moving to the next slide. If these databases are not created, we use Domino command line to create database from the Domino template. Before we use Domino server CL copy command, you need to add nodes.ini parameter on the Domino server as shown in the slide using setconfig command. Now to create required Vault database, command can be issued on the Domino server console as shown in this slide. We have seen some cases where access denied exception or access control exception occur in the Domino Vault environment. To prevent this exception, we need to add permission in java.policy file on the Domino server as shown in this slide. The java.policy file located on the path based on the operating system, as shown in this slide for Windows and Linux operating system. After the suggested changes are done, in Java security policy, restart Domino server and verify Domino Vault installation by using the below command on the Domino server. The command is tell http osgi ss dlib. If the output does not include a line active dlib _version, then please do not proceed. Please recheck all previous configuration steps to verify where it's went wrong. Moving to the next slide. As mentioned in previous slides, VoltBuilder.nsf is used to store Volt application design and the other processing of the Domino Volt application. So it's important to set right access and roles on the database. Verify the database ACL for the Volt Builder database on the server. Volt author should have editor access with delete document privilege. We can assign role Volt Apps Manager to at least one administrator so that the users with this role will able to view and edit all Volt applications. Please note this is optional. Moving to the next slide. Here default access should be set to reader and anonymous access should be set to no access for VoltBuilder.nsf in ACL. Do not select role Volt Apps Manager for default and anonymous access. Moving to the next slide. Volt config.nsf database is used to manage configuration information specific to the Domino Volt environment. Setting the server URI configuration must be properly done with fully qualified domain name of your Domino server. Please note, this is very important setting because Domino Volt is capable of operating absence of any other setting in this database, but not with the misconfigured server URI. Moving to the next slide. Now to make server URI setting, you must edit the server URI configuration document in the Volt config.nsf. You can set the server URI as an example https:// fully qualified domain name of Domino server followed by Volt-apps. We always recommend configuring Domino Volt securely using SSL. To save this configuration document, click on Done and you will be prompted Save or Cancel. Choose Yes to save and close the configuration. Moving to the next slide. The recommended default and anonymous access on the Volt config.nsf should be no access. Moving to the next slide. Once you have completed the configuration, restart the HTTP task. After HTTP task restart complete, now all set to access the Domino Volt. The absolute URL depends on your server hostname and whether you have enabled HTTPS on your server. Now to launch Domino Volt, open browser and hit URL as shown in this slide. It will be prompted with user and password. Now log in with user who is member of the Volt config author group. Post successful login, you will be landed on the Welcome to Domino Volt page. Congratulations. So that's it from the installation and configuration of Domino Volt. The further part of this presentation will be covered by my colleague Abhay. Over to you, Abhay. Thank you.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Hemant, for explaining the process of Domino Volt installation and configuration. In the upcoming slides, we will look into some key features of Domino Volt 101 and 102, some upcoming features of Domino Volt, a demo on how to create a workflow app, some known issues with troubleshooting tips, and the references. So in this slide, we can see some of the key features of Domino Volt 101 and 102. Let's discuss each of these key features with more details in the upcoming slides. Moving to the next slide. Following are the key features of Domino Volt 101. Anonymous access. With this feature, you can extend your Volt app to external users outside your organization without the need of authentication. Direct access to Domino data. This feature will provide you with a simplified way to integrate the data from Domino views and documents into your Volt apps. Out-of-the-box directory services. Using this feature, you can look up the information about the users from the Domino directory. Dynamic role assignments. You can build apps where you can dynamically assign roles to the users. For example, you can assign an employees manager to an approver role for the request submitted. Application upgrade. You can update your Volt app which is already in production with edits and modifications. This will update the app in place so that URL as used to access the app and the data collected so far will stay intact. Improved file UI in text widget. The improved file UI makes it easy to add and manage the files and images which are used in text items. New JavaScript editor. The new JavaScript editor highlights the JavaScript syntax and provides pre-built code snippets and an object selector for faster code completion, thereby increasing the developers' productivity. PDF document integration. You can add fillable PDF templates to your app for PDF document creation. You can capture data and push it into the template and then store the resulting PDF locally or with the submission record. Service catalog. You can define and catalog the service definitions which can then be later used. This is a define once and use by all approach, and it allows organizations to build and reuse integration points specific to the organization. Moving to the next slide. Following are the key features of DominoVolt 102. Properties in the side panel instead of model dialog. Most of the item properties are now provided in the side panel instead of model dialog. So it provides much smoother interface for working with the Volt app. Name picker widget. A new field type names picker has been introduced in the palette so that the end users can look up names directly from the Domino directory. Sortable columns. You have the ability to select which columns on the view data page can be sortable. Optional full text index. You have the ability to choose whether to enable a full text index for an app or not. If the full text index is enabled, a new contains search operator is added in the search dialog for end users. Include an attachment with a workflow email. You can include the attachment in an email message which is generated by a stage change. Application history. You can now check the application history with the details like what was the action performed on the Volt app, who has done that action, and when was the action performed. Custom themes. You can add custom themes on the Volt server so that it can be picked up while creating new apps. The custom themes can be applied to multiple applications. Unread marks disabled. Unread marks are now disabled in the database for the new applications created in DominoVolt 102 so that it will improve the performance of the Volt app. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we will discuss about some of the upcoming features that are expected in the future release of DominoVolt. These features will be very helpful in creating new apps and upgrading the current apps. App pages. An app page is a non-form page and it does not have data schema and workflow stages. You will be able to add display items, data grid, and HTML fragments in it. You will also be able to use rules and services in it, and it also includes JS API functions. It can be used in creating front-end menu for an app or for displaying the data. Data grid. You can add data grid to a form or an app page. Using data grid, you will be able to display the data from a form in grid format. You will be able to select the source from where the data will be fetched, and you will be able to set the fields to display the data. You will be able to set the sort and filter options as well. Navigation. You will be able to navigate from one page to another page without using JavaScript. Volt link. It will provide you with many options to integrate with databases, SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Excel, PDF, OData, REST, SOAP, and much more. Create, update, and delete Domino data. In the current version of DominoVolt, you can read the Domino data. With this upcoming feature, you will be able to create, update, and delete the Domino data. Run agents. You will be able to run the agents that are residing in Domino database using this feature. Role-based rules. You will be able to set the rules that will be based on the roles. So you can set different rules for different roles as per your business requirement. Rich text item on palette. You will be able to create rich text fields on the form. The advantage of having rich text field is that end users can format the text inside the field. Moving to the next slide. In this application demo session, we will learn how to create an app from Excel file. We'll be creating a help desk app which can be used by end users for logging tickets for any area, and the predefined support team can work on the ticket. We will learn how to set workflow stages, how to set access level for each stage, and how to create notification email. We will also learn how to fetch data from backend view and how to apply CSS. Then I will show you the actual sample app created using Domino Vault. So let's begin. First, we will create an app from Excel file. I have an Excel file ready with me. Here I have 3 sheets: ticket form, support team, and ticket ID config. Each sheet will become a form in the app. In the first sheet, I have few columns like ticket ID, creator, service, title, description, and priority. Now each column will become a field in the form. I have some dummy data in the first sheet. I will later on let you know why there is some dummy data in this sheet. Second is the support team. I have 2 fields here, service and support team. In the service, I have defined some services for which end user will raise a ticket, and each service is mapped to a support team. Application will assign the ticket to each of these user in round robin fashion automatically. We are going to pull the column of service from support team to the ticket form in this service drop-down field. Third one is the ticket ID config. We will be pulling the current ticket number in the ticket ID field on ticket form from this ticket ID config form. So now let's create the app from the Excel file. For that, you need to go to this manager.html page, which Hemant had told you in earlier slides. Click on create new app. We get 3 options. First is from blank. It will create a blank app, and then you can create from manually, and then later on you can also import data from Excel. The last option is from existing. It will create an app from the existing Vault file. For this demo session, we'll be using the second option, that is from spreadsheet. So select the second option and click on next. Now choose the Excel file which we have created. The name of the Excel file will become the name of application. Click on next. On the left side, we can see the 3 sheets from that Excel file. And on the right side, we can see the columns from that each sheet. Now each column is mapped to a data type here. We have to select the data type which we need. So the reason why I have kept dummy data, if I don't keep any data in the sheet, Vault will give me only 2 options, that is single line and multi-line. But I need some of the other data type options for some of the fields. So when we have data, we get more options. So now let's map each of this column to a data type. Ticket ID, I will keep it as single line. Creator will be a single line. Service, I'm going to keep it as drop-down value. Title, I will keep it as single line only. Description, we will keep it as multi-line. And priority, I will select the select one option, which is a radio button. Now move to next sheet. In this service line, we will keep it as single line only, and support team, we will change it to multi-line. Move to the third sheet. Let's keep the current ID as number type only. click on next. Here we can give some name to the application and some description about the application, and select the theme from this available list, and then click on create button. Once this application is saved, our application will be live. So here we can see our application is now live. We can edit the application, we can launch the application, and we can view the data in the application. So let's see the data first using this view data link. Here we can see the view has been created by Volt automatically. So we have seen within a few seconds, we were able to create an app from Excel file. So this is the power of Domino Volt. So let's click on this record to open the form. Here we can see the form has been created. To launch a blank form, go to the right side launch button and click on this launch button to open a blank form. Now we don't want this dummy data, so we will remove all three records, and then we will check the support team and ticket ID config. So here is the support team, the second sheet which was there in the Excel file. It has imported the data from the second sheet. And the third one is the ticket ID config. Now let's edit the application to make some modifications. So for that, click on this edit button. On the left side is the palette and outline. On the right side is the properties. So where we can see the ticket form, the support team, and the ticket ID config. Let's make some modification in the ticket form. Select the creator field. In the right side, we can see the properties. Here we can see maximum number of characters has been set as 10 by Volt. So let's increase it to 50. Go to the title field. The width is set as medium. So let's increase the width. And let's increase the maximum number of characters to 50. Go to the description field. Here again we will increase the width. And if want, we can increase the number of rows displayed to 6. Select the priority field. Here we can see the options has been added in alphabetical order. So let's rearrange this order using this arrow button as low, medium, and high. And let's change the layout from vertical to horizontal. Now, I would like to keep some of these fields to be mandatory when end user submit the form. So for that, click on this red asterisk button to make the field mandatory. So let's make service, title, description, and priority as mandatory fields. Now I would like to add an attachment button so that end user can attach any file. So click here on this first column, add an row at the bottom using append row. Select this row, go to the palette on left side, expand the specialized, and click on the attachment. So our attachment field has been added. Now we will pull the service column from the support team configuration in this service dropdown field. So select the service dropdown. On the right side, click on Events tab. Then click on Show Event. Click on Call a Service. And then click on Add Service Configuration. Now in this, select Service Catalog. In the Service Catalog, you should select Current Application since you are fetching the data from the current application itself. There are few other options which you can later on explore. So locate the support team form here. And in this support team form, we will be using the search activity. A search activity will give me all the records for a particular column. Now go to the second inputs tab. There will be no input to this search activity since we just need the output from backend. So we'll skip this and go to this output tab. Here we can see source on the left side and the target on the right side. Our source is support team form and the target is ticket form. Now we have to map source with the target. Our source will be service field and the target will be service drop-down field here. So expand this service drop-down. Each drop-down has two values, saved value and displayed value. So we have to link both with the source. So select the saved value, click on this link button. A green tick mark is shown here. That means the source and the target has been mapped. Now similarly, we will map the displayed value. At the bottom, you can see the source and target has been mapped. Go to the fourth details tab. Give some meaningful name to this service. For example, get service and some name to the ID. Click on OK. And now let's preview the form to check the output. So here we can see we have successfully fetched the service column from the support team configuration into this service drop-down field. Now if end user selects any value in the drop-down, we have to fetch the support team which is mapped to this selected service. So let's see how to do that. For that, I will create a hidden field. First, I will append a row at the top using this insert row. Select the row. I will add a section here. I'll be adding all the hidden fields in this section, and later on we will hide this hidden section. So let's name it as hidden section. We can display the title bar here. Now I will add a field inside this hidden section. So let's select single line entry. Name it as support team. Give some name to the ID like F_support team. And ID should begin with an alphabet and underscore. Now we will pull the support team for the selected service in this field. So select the service drop-down field again. We will create a similar configuration which we created on the on-show event, but this time we'll be adding it on the on item change. The reason because whenever the value of the drop-down changes, we should pull the support team for that selected value. So on item change will be called whenever the drop-down value changes. So click on call a service, add service configuration, locate the support team form, and this time we will be using retrieve service. A retrieve service will fetch a single record based on criteria, but the criteria can be optional. Now go to the inputs tab. Now we have to give the input to this retrieve service. The input will be a service which we have selected in dropdown. So in the ticket form source, select service, and the target support team form, select retrieve by service. Link the source and target. Now go to the output tab. Here we have to fetch the output. Our output will be support team. So in the source, select support team, and in the target, select the support team field which we created in hidden section, and link source and target. Now go to the details tab. Give some meaningful name to the service. For example, get support team, and the name to the ID. Click on OK. And now let's preview the output. So here we can see an empty support team field has been added, and as soon as select the value from the dropdown, it has fetched the support team which is mapped to that selected value. Now we have to assign this ticket to this first user in the support team. So we will use a small code snippet of JavaScript. The logic which we will use is we will fetch this child string from this parent string, and the start position will be 0 and the end position will be the position of comma. And between this start position and end position, we will extract the child string. So let's see how to do that. I will add another field, single line entry. I will name it as assign to. Let's give a name to the ID. And I have a code snippet ready in a notepad file. I will just copy this code to the form, go to the outline, select ticket form, go to the events tab on right side, click on before save and paste this code. So this code will be called just before the form is saved. So let me explain you what this code does. In the first line, I'm using if condition to compare the value of assign to with the empty string. I'm executing this code only when the assign to field is blank. It makes no sense when the assign to has been populated with the assignee person. So this will take care of that. In the second line, I'm declaring a variable called team. I'm using the BO object. BO stand for business object. At the bottom, you can see the available parameters. First is app. It will give the access to the application. Form will give access to the form, and BO will give access to the items on the form. So to access the any field on the item, you have to write BO and then dot and then ID name. As soon as you write BO dot, it gives a list of functions which are available in the BO. And to access the ID or the items on the form, you have to press Control and spacebar at the same time, and it will give us the list of fields on the form. So we select the field and it will give us the ID name. So we are writing BO dot ID name, and then we are using a JavaScript function getValue to retrieve the value from this support team. In the third line, we have declared a variable end position. We are using a JavaScript function index of to gain the position of this comma inside the support team field. And in the fourth line, we are using a variable assignee name. Here we are using a JavaScript function substring. It will extract the child string from main string. We are giving the start position as 0 and end position as the position of comma. And in the last line, we are assigning this assignee name value to this assign to field using setValue function. Now click on check syntax to check whether the code is valid or not. Click on OK. Now before save event cannot be called on the preview form because we cannot submit the form in the preview. So temporarily I will add this code on this title field in the event on the on item focus so that I can show you the output of this code. So I will preview the ticket form. I will select a value in the dropdown, and as soon as I create a focus in title field, it has fetched the first user into the assign to field. So now let's remove the code from on item focus because we have already added in the before save event. Now we will move to the creator field. We will show the name of the user who is going to submit the ticket. So again, I will use another code snippet from the notepad file. I'll copy this code, select the creator field, go to the events tab, click on show event and add this code. So we are again using a similar logic which we used for support team and assign to. We are executing this code only when the creator field is blank. Once it is non-blank, we don't need to execute this code. So we are doing this using this if condition. We have declared a variable called full name. In this, we are using an app parameter. And from this app parameter, we are using the get current user. The get current user will give us the name of the user who is logged in. Let me show you the output of get current user. And then I will explain why I'm using the below part of this code. Temporarily, I will comment this part, and we are running these 2 lines only. Check the syntax, click on OK, and let's preview the form. So here we can see the output is in canonical form, but we don't want the canonical name. We just want the common name of the user, that is this highlighted part. So we'll using the same logic which we did for support team and assign to. We'll be using index of and some substring method, but this time the start position will be 3 instead of 0 because cn equal to has taken 3 positions, and the end position will be the position of this slash. So let's see how to do that. I will uncomment these 3 lines and I will remove this line. Now in the third line, I have declared end position variable using the index of JavaScript function to access the position of slash. And in the fourth line, I have declared short name variable. I am using the substring method to extract the child string from parent string. Start position is 3, end position is the position of slash. And once we get the short name, we are setting it to the creator field using set value function. Click on check syntax and let's preview the form. So here we can see we have extracted the common name from the canonical name. Now we will fetch the ticket ID from the backend ticket ID config form. For that, I will add a temporary field in this hidden section. Go to the palette. I will be adding a number field. I will name it as current ID. I will give the name to the ID. And this time I will be creating a separate configuration, and I will be calling this configuration using a JavaScript code. So to create a service configuration, go to the setting tab. In the services, locate the ticket form. Here we can see the services which we already created, that is get service and get support team. Click on add service configuration. Locate the ticket ID config form. So here is the ticket ID config form, and we'll be using a retrieve service. Go to the inputs tab. We'll be not giving any input to this service. We just need the output from backend. So we can skip this. Go to the output tab. In the source, select current ID, and in the target, select the current ID field which we created in hidden section. Map the source and target. Go to the details tab. Give some meaningful name like get ID and the name to the ID. Now this ID name will be using in the JavaScript code to call this configuration. Click on OK. Here we can see our configuration has been created. Now we have to call this configuration using JavaScript code. So I will use another code snippet here from this notepad. Copy this code, go to the outline, select the ticket form, click on onload event and paste the code. So again we are calling this configuration only when the service dropdown field is blank. Once that field is not blank, that means the form has been submitted. So there is no need to call this configuration again. In the second line, we have declared a service1 variable. This time we are using the form parameter. And from this form parameter, we are using the get service configuration function. This will give us handle to this configuration. We just need to provide the ID name for that configuration. Once we get the handle to this configuration, we can call it using call service function. Check the syntax. And now preview the ticket form. So here we can see our ticket number from the backend has been pulled into the current ID field. Now this field will be kept hidden later on. So we have to display the ticket number to the user in this ticket ID field. So let's map this value of current ID to this ticket ID field. To do that, click on Ticket ID field. On the right side, click on Formula. In the drop-down, select Assign. Now we have to give the input. Our input will be current ID field from the hidden section. Now preview the form, and we can see that the value of current ID field has been mapped to ticket ID. Now we have to update this current ID number. We have to increment the number by 1 and then update it to the backend ticket ID config so that the next incoming ticket should take the new number. So you can try it yourself. I will explain you what you have to do. You have to create another field, and then you have to increment this current ID by 1 and store it in the new field. For that, you can use the add formula. And once you have incremented the value by 1, you can update this new field into the backend ticket ID config using update service. So you can try it yourself. Now we will set workflow stages for the app. So to set workflow stages, go to this stages tab. We can see default 3 stages has been created here. We will need one more stage. So click on this add new stage button. Let's rename the second stage as pending with assignee and the third stage as pending with user. Now our 4 stages are ready. Let's create some buttons in each stage. So in the start stage, we will create a submit ticket button. Once the ticket is submitted, the next stage should be pending with assignee. Go to the pending with assignee stage. Here we will create submit to user button. And once the ticket is submitted to user, the next stage should be pending with user. We don't need this cancel button. So here in the bottom part of the screen, we will remove this cancel button, and instead we will add one more submit button here. Let's rename this button as close ticket. Once the ticket is closed, the next stage should be end. Now go to the pending with user stage. Create a button submit to assignee. Once the ticket is submitted to assignee, the next stage should be pending with assignee. Again, we will remove this cancel button and instead add a submit button and rename it as close ticket. And the next stage of close ticket should be end. So we are completed these workflow stages for the app without using coding. So it's easy and convenient to set workflow stage with Volt. Now we will set the access for each of this stage. Go to this access tab here. Locate the ticket form. Here we can see the different workflow stages which we created. So we have to set access for each of the stage. Select the start stage. Here we can see the access, create, read, update and delete. Read, update and delete are by default disabled for the start stage. So select the create access for each of these roles. Go to the pending with assignee stage. Here create will be by default disabled. Select read and update access. If you want, you can remove this delete access or keep it as it is. Go to the pending with user. Select read update access. Go to the end stage. Here we will select read access. The create and update will be by default disabled for end stage. Now we have set the access for each stage. Let's go back to the stages and create a notification email on submit button. So select the start stage, select the submit ticket button and click on this edit properties. Now click on Activities and select Send an email. Here we have to set the to field, the subject field, and the body. We'll be sending the email on submit of the ticket to the assignee. So insert the assign to field from the form using this insert option. Set the subject for this mail. For example, ticket assigned to you. We can also insert the ticket number using this insert option. So select ticket ID field. We can include the attachment which are attached by end user to this email using this option. Now go to the body field here. Let's create a body for this field. For example, ticket has been assigned to you, and we can also insert more information from the form using this insert option. So let's do that. I will insert creator field, then service field, title, description, and priority. We can also include link to the form. So select this option, link to this form. Now let's label each of these field: creator, service, title, description, priority, and the last one, link. If you want, you can format this text using these available options. Click on OK. This message will be displayed when the ticket form is submitted. So let's modify this message as your ticket has been successfully created. If you want, you can format this text using these available options. Click on OK. Now we have to apply the CSS to this. So I have a CSS file ready. To create a new CSS file, open a notepad file and add the CSS code and save that notepad file as .css extension. So here I have two CSS sample code. I am applying this CSS to the input field of type text, text area, and select. These are the attributes. Width will be 100%, border will be 1 pixel solid, the border radius will be 8 pixel, margin will be 0, outline will be none, and padding will be 8 pixel. This will be applied on the focus of the field. A blue border color will be created around the field when the focus is created. Once you have created the CSS file, we have to import in the app. So go to the Style tab. On the left side, Custom CSS, click on Add File. Click on Choose File to select the CSS. Click on OK. And let's preview the form. Here we can see the edges of the fields are now round. And when we create a focus on the field, it creates a blue border color around the field. Now one more part here left which you can try it yourself. We have extracted the support team and assigned this ticket to this first user using this assign to field. And now we have to update the support team in the backend. So for that, extract this second part of this field in another temporary field and extract the first part and append it to the end of this second part. So now the queue for the support team will be updated. So use this string to append it to the backend support team configuration using the update service. So whenever the next ticket comes, it will be assigned to user 15 instead of user 14. So you can try this activity on your own. So we have imported the style sheet, that is CSS, If you want to update the CSS file, go to the Settings tab. On the left side, select Files. Here we can see our CSS file has been imported. Click on this Update button and choose the file which you have updated and click on Save. Your CSS in the app will be updated. So our development of the app has been done. So let's close this and deploy the app using this deploy button. Once the application is deployed, we can use the ticket form. So you can distribute this ticket form link to the end users. Let's click on launch button. We have to hide this section, so let's do that as well. So edit the application. Go to the stages tab. In the start stage, select the hide section. We can see the I button. Click on this I button to hide this section and click on this lock button to make the ticket ID and creator field read only. Repeat these steps for each of these stages. So I will do it for the first and second stage for the demo purpose. Let's save the application and deploy. And launch the form. So here we can see the section has been hidden now and ticket ID and creator field is now read only. Let's select the drop down value as Windows. Give some title and some description. Select the priority. We can attach some file and click on submit ticket button. The ticket has been successfully created. Let's check the data. Here we can see a row has been created in ticket form view. If we click on this, it will open up the form. Now let's check the notification email. I have already logged in using user 14 in another browser. I will refresh this mailbox and I got the notification email. The subject is ticket assigned to you. This is the to field. Here we can see the attachment. This is the body of the email and we have the link and we can open the form using that link. So now let's check an actual sample app which we have created using Domino Vault. So we have created a smart help desk app using Vault. This is the homepage of the app. On this homepage, we have different tabs like create ticket, view tickets, and configuration. This configuration tab is accessible to the admin access users. When we click on configuration, we have similar configuration which we created in demo app. The support team details. Application assigns the ticket to each of these users in round robin fashion automatically. We have kept the priority field as configurable. This is the one-time configuration, that is ticket ID, which will be fetched in the ticket ID field on the form, and it will be incremented each time the submit happens. We have one more configuration called app config. We are displaying the dates in the ticket like creation date and closure date in this DMY format, and we can also change this to MDY. We are prefixing the ticket number using these two characters. These are the admin access users who can access the configuration. The last configuration which we have is absentee details. If any support member is absent or on leave, his or her name can be marked here so that application will not assign ticket to that user. For example, here I have marked user 16. Multiple names can be marked using comma separator. So when any ticket arrives for, suppose, for any Windows related issue, the ticket will not be assigned to user 16 because it is marked as absent. So application will assign the ticket to the next available user. Let's check the tables in the view tickets. We have created few tables to show pending and closed ticket to assignee and user. This table will show the tickets for the logged in user. I will show you a sample ticket. When we click on this row, it will preview the form and we can open the ticket from this link. This is the sample ticket. We are showing the status here. This is the ticket ID, the creation date and time. This is the creator, closure date and time. This is the service title and description field. Here is the assignee. Here is the priority and attachment. And we are capturing the communication between end user and assignee through a comment box. You can try this as well. You have to create a comment box and capture each comments in a separate field. We are showing the latest comment at top, and we are also showing the username who has commented and the date and time for the comment. So we have one more feature where we can search the ticket using this search ticket option. We just have to enter the ticket ID, click on search. It will display the data in tabular form, and we can access this ticket from this hyperlink. So this was all about the demo of Workflow app. It is easy and convenient to create apps using DominoVolt as it takes low coding, and it is 70% faster than traditional web application development. We encourage our customers to use power of DominoVolt to create such apps and leverage them. Even the business users and administrators can create Volt apps without the knowledge of coding. So let's move to the next slide now. In this slide, we will be discussing about some known issues and ways to resolve them, so that if you face such issue, then you will be able to resolve them on your own. In the first known issue shown on this slide, if you install and configure DominoVolt and then try to access Volt Manager page, it might get stuck at loading the manager message. In one of the cases, it was identified that installation of DominoVolt didn't go well. The issue was resolved by reinstalling the DominoVolt. In another case, fully qualified internet hostname in the Domino server document was not matching with server URI used in Volt config database. The issue was resolved by correcting the server URI in Volt config database to match with FQDN as per server document. Ideally, FQDN name and server URI should be in lowercase. Next issue, you might see an error HCL/domino was unexpected at this time while installing DominoVolt on Windows. It was found that Domino was installed at path C program files XCT6 HCL Domino. The problem was resolved after installing Domino on C program files HCL Domino. Next issue, you might get fail to validate error while deploying Volt app. Assume you have created a Volt app with send mail activity. You can save the app and the application validation has also passed. But when you try to deploy app, it gives error fail to validate and you cannot deploy the app. If you remove send mail activity, then you are able to deploy app without this error. It was found that Java permission, which we had discussed in earlier slide of Volt configuration, was not properly set in the Java policy file. Setting the Java policy permission properly fixed the issue. Next issue, if you log into DominoVolt, you may see an error message warning requesting user authentication on server console. As a workaround, you can add the line mentioned in the slide marked in bold to the rcp install.properties file stored in Domino data directory in the path domino workspace.config, and then you should restart the HTTP task. Next issue, Domino installer removes Volt. If you upgrade Domino from 11.0.0 to 11.0.1, it might remove old bundles from Domino program directory OSGI Volt folder. As a workaround, you can reinstall Domino Volt after you upgrade Domino. Be sure to stop Domino server before you reinstall Domino Volt. You may leave Domino data/Volt directory in place for upgrade. Moving to the next slide. At some point in time, you may land into some issues. So you should be aware of some troubleshooting tips. Domino Volt logs the server-side error in the Domino data directory in the path Domino workspace logs. These are the same logs that are also used for troubleshooting Xpage related issues. The client-side error may sometimes refer to server-side log message as shown in the screenshot. You can read it as "We are unable to process your request. If this error persists, report the problem to your administrator and provide error reference." However, you should note that this error reference number is of no use if you don't provide workspace logs. So when you are reporting any Volt issue to support team via support case, you should provide workspace log along with this reference number. If the problem persists to any specific application, then you should also provide .volt or .xl file to the support team so that problem can be further investigated. The verbose logging can be useful in some cases. Let's see how to enable verbose logging on the server in the next slide. Moving to the next slide. You can enable the verbose logging by adding the lines shown in this slide marked in bold to the rcp.install.properties file stored in Domino data directory in the path domino workspace.config. You can set the log level setting to fine, finer, or finest. You should not keep the verbose logging enabled on the production server as it generates huge logging and could have significant impact on the Volt performance. Once you have enabled verbose logging on the production server, you should then reproduce the issue, collect the workspace logs which we had discussed in the last slide, and then disable the verbose logging. Moving to the next slide. In this slide, we have provided some reference links which will help you to learn more about Domino Volt. The Domino Volt 102 documentation link has all the documentations related to Domino Volt. You can also find some nice video tutorial here which will help you to learn more about Domino Volt. We have provided the system requirement link for Domino and the Domino Volt installation link. Using the sandbox link, you can create a free account and start creating Volt apps without the worry of installing and configuring Domino Volt. The fixed list link contains the list of all the bugs which have been fixed in the Domino Volt till date. The Volt wiki link has all the wiki stuff related to Domino Volt. You can find some good sample apps here which you can refer to. And it also contains some good learning materials. If you have any queries related to Domino Volt, then you can post your queries on the Volt forum using the provided forum link, and our expert will answer those queries. Moving to the next slide. With this, we have come to the end of the presentation and we are now open for the question, answer and the feedback session. We hope this presentation was informative and helpful to you. I will now hand over to Vinayak. Over to you, Vinayak. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Abhay, and thank you, Hemant, for the session. It was very elaborative, a lot of things, good information, good insights. I would now request our panelists if there are any questions which can be responded, we can go over them here. And I also request our participants while we are doing this Q&A, you would see poll questions on your screen. So please respond with your valuable feedback. So are there any questions on the chat which customers might have asked? Which we can respond?
There are no questions.
Okay.
Sorry, there's one. I see a question.
Is there a possibility to integrate same time with Vault app? Or is that possible at all? Does anyone know the answer?
Integrating the same time with the Volt app.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, there is a possibility of integrating the REST APIs. So I'm not sure if same time can integrate the REST APIs.
So
Can we?
that requires some programming.
Yes,
on
it
the-
would require some programming. So there will be a Volt link feature in the upcoming Domino Volt. So there are few. They have provided, the development team has provided few integration points where we can integrate the external systems to the Volt app. So
Okay.
that might be possibly the Volt link.
So the short answer is that we don't have a definite answer right now.
Yes.
but we would
Yeah, we can check with
Okay.
our product development team for definite answer, and we can reply it back.
Okay, so another question just came along. Is it possible to integrate with third-party databases like SQL Server or Oracle with Vault?
Yes, that is definitely possible with the Volt link. That will be the upcoming feature. So we can integrate the external databases or the other systems like SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow.
Okay, so the short answer is this feature is not available today, but will be coming up in the future releases of Vault.
Yes.
Okay, got it. I don't see any other questions right now, but please feel free to post them. We can get them answered.
And also, information to our participants, please note that we will be publishing a knowledge article soon, which will have the recording, the presentation, and the transcript, which can be referred at a later point of time. Okay, so yeah, so thank you to all the participants. We will be, having another session of this tomorrow, India time, evening India time. So if participants can, feel free to join them as well. So thank you. I'll be ending up the session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.